Hello everybody, it's I, Kirbonic Pikmin here for yet another Touhou 1cc. This time, Touhou 13 10 Desires. This game gave me quite a bit of trouble. And you see, I got pretty close to 1ccing this game, I want to say a month, maybe 2 months back. And for whatever reason, I stopped. I honestly don't remember the reason why I stopped. I think a game came out or something. So I got a little rusty on it. And then after I spent 3 straight nights back-to-back grinding, I finally got the 1cc. Now you may be wondering, what took me so long to actually get it? I didn't understand how one of the main mechanics of the game works. Now, I didn't understand how Trance works. I'm gonna explain how Trance works when it comes up, but I'm gonna feel like a fucking idiot when I do. There's not really much to explain for this first stage, by the way. It's super simple. Touhou stage 1's always simple, but here's the first mini boss, Spirit. Generally, just keep your aim on it for as long as possible. Just nothing to worry about. Now, here's the main mechanic of the game. I did understand. Now, whenever you beat certain enemies, they will drop spirits. Now, as you can see, the mini boss, it dropped a green spirit. That goes towards your spell cards. You can see on the right where the pieces are. You see underneath the star and the heart, it says pieces. For every one of those spirits you collect, you'll get either 1 or 2 pieces, depending on the size of the spirit. And once you collect enough pieces, you will get an extra bomb or life, depending on how many pieces you get. Now, this game, comparatively to other Touhou games, starves you for resources. You will probably have maybe 4 or 5 lives after a lot, and that's assuming you get all the pieces and stuff. So, this game's a bit different in its challenge in that it's less super duper difficult patterns and more that you just have low resources and have to get to it, and the stress will probably get to you at some point. But here we got the first boss, Yuko. She has simple patterns too. This one is just a simple streaming to the right, and then you're gonna have to watch out for the blue ones, which kind of move in diagonal directions. The blue ones are really the only ones you have to worry about, because the red ones just kind of go in like one straight direction. Just keep an eye on the blue ones and move accordingly, and she'll go down easily. Yuko is kind of a far cry from what she was at the end of Touhou 7. Now, while there she was like probably one of the best final bosses in the franchise, she's, as a stage 1 boss, she's very easy. Not much to say here. She has very simple patterns. They are admittedly a bit more intensive than most stage 1 bosses, I guess. But it's still not anything that's gonna make you like have difficulty or anything. This final one is probably the most dangerous one, I guess. She shoots bullets off in many directions, which then causes them to fly in from the left and right. Just generally move around to make sure you're not in the path of a colliding bullet. If there's a lot of them coming in one area, move away so that way you don't risk getting walled in. Very simple. Now, upon defeating enemies, they will drop spirits that you want to collect. Just the plain white ones, not the white and blue. I mean, I would explain the purple ones. But collecting those, if you look at the bottom left of the screen, you will see a spirit meter. It's those 3 ghostly orbs. Upon collecting enough spirits to fill that orb, you can enter a mode called Trance. It basically makes you invincible and do a shitload of damage. Now, when I played this game, I assumed that it would only activate upon death, because that was the only time I ever saw it. It will always activate if you die. Doesn't matter how much meter you have, the second you get hit, it will activate Trance. It basically works as to let you have a chance to make it even with the boss. Like, they killed you, but maybe you'll be able to beat the phase with Trance on. Turns out, you could enter Trance at any moment, as long as you have 3 spirits. I believe you can cancel at any point too, but you can only activate it with 3 spirits. Now, this part's pretty simple. You want to take out the big enemies as quick as possible to have them drop the spirits. Then be sure to collect the spirits as soon as possible, because those will disappear after a certain amount of time. And again, I already mentioned how scarce resources are in this game. You want them. Now, here's where the issue comes in. Enemies are always coming in on screen, so you have to be extremely quick and very careful about when you choose to get the spirits. Especially in later stages when there's bullet spreads everywhere. It's a lot simpler early game, but a lot of your deaths in this game will honestly be trying to get more resources. Now here we are at the mini boss, well, stage boss, I guess. This one's in a very simple pattern. Only real issue is at the very end when all of the bullets converge. You might have to move to the side of the screen to avoid it, but otherwise, yeah, very simple one. These enemies don't have... You'll have to be careful to take them out as quick as possible. I like to go from the left to the right of the screen quickly and take them all out before the bullets reach the bottom of the screen. So that way you don't have to deal with too much bullet spread. And these ones, it's a lot of taking out enemies before they get to do that much bullet spamming. So doing that as soon as possible lets you deal with less bullets, and you can get all the spirits at the end, which in turn lets you get more trance and take them out. So yeah, I got an extra bomb. It takes 8 of those green orbs to get an extra bomb, so you can imagine how much a pain in the ass it is. You don't get many lives in this game. They actually change it until level 14 to where you only need 3 life pieces in order to get an extra life instead of 8, because it just takes forever to get them. Now Kyoko does something really interesting where she will create these spaces that will contain the bullets and keep them bouncing inside of it. They will not move outside until she cancels the barrier, which will then cause them to leave. Now this first pattern is very simple. She will only send like 4 bullets at you at most. It's got extra life. The way she does... Now these ones are probably the most concerning ones because of how there's bullets coming from every direction. At relatively high speeds. You'll want to watch where the bullets are coming from and try to anticipate where they will be going once she drops the barrier, and then move in the best direction based on where the bullets are going. Now this one, she shoots a bunch of bullets off on different directions, and then they come in a pattern of small, medium, then large. You'll want to watch where they're coming from and find the most adequate place to dodge accordingly. Very position based. Now this one is the most dangerous spell card, fitting as the last one. You can see the issue. She has a bunch of bullets. She shoots a bunch of bullets in a circular pattern, and then has a sphere pull them inwards. Depending on where you are and where the bullets are going, you can end up in a very bad situation where it's just a wall of bullets coming towards you with no real way to get through them. So you'll want to move before she opens it. Alright, so we're at the beginning of the third stage. This one is not too bad, but if you aren't careful, you'll probably take a stupid loss and have to reset. So it starts with the big fairies coming and dropping off bullets. You'll want to take them out as quick as possible, because otherwise they'll just put bullets all across the screen and make things just a little bit more annoying for you. Now, what I like to do when these come out is I like to take out the fairies first and then the spirits, and then rush to get what they drop after the fact. Actually, no, wait, these ones aren't the ones that drop in. It's the next fairies. You want to take these ones out as quick as possible, not only because of the bullet spamming, but also because they drop resources. Now, you may be wondering, why did I just pop Trance? Like, I didn't need to do that at all. There was no need. There was not a dangerous bullet spread. Well, you see, Trance also has this neato ability where it doubles the resources that you pick up. So, a single bomb piece will become worth 2, and same with a life piece. So, that's kind of how you get to stretch out your resources just a little bit more by using Trance at strategic times to get more resources out of each boss phase. So I like to do it usually when there's a lot of just a lot of them on screen at once, which usually happens at specific spots in the 3rd, 5th, and 6th stages, I believe. So you're gonna want to learn when and where the resources are dropped and the best time to get them. So when they shoot them in these spiral patterns, you want to take them out as quick as possible and then squeeze through and then rush to where the pieces are. Now, as you can see, you don't really have to worry about them too much, provided you get there fast enough, because then you can just dodge the bullets easily from the top. But if you're not quick enough, they'll probably clip you. Again, with the fairies, it's nothing too major. And then I believe this is the end of the stage. It's a nice little spirit refill because the boss coming up is a little bit more difficult than a normal stage 3 boss. I wouldn't say difficult, more so that she is just long and intensive. Alright. Oh no, did I forget to mash the dialogue? I think I stopped to check my phone for a second. But this is Yoshika. She's a Jiangshi, and man, she really likes throwing just massive clumps of bullets at you. So she starts off throwing these big green clumps, and they will generally go down in the location where they are. They might move slightly to the left or right, so as long as you move out of the direction, you'll be fine. Just watch out for the red ones that go out in like a circular pattern afterwards. Now for this spell card, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure what to do. I like to time it out, which involves going from the left to the right side to take out the spirits that are shooting off the bullets before they get to be much of a problem. Doing that for 30 seconds ends the spell card without too much grief. It's a simple way to get through it. And she goes back to spamming a shitload of kunai. They'll fall slowly before intensifying in speed. And the red ones go in random directions, the green ones will generally go in the direction they're facing. Now, I didn't really want to risk getting hit this early on, so I just bombed to get through it more quickly. Now, these purple kunai go in random directions, and then they kind of quickly move towards the bottom. It's not really that bad. Just be careful because you can get clipped, depending on like which direction they decided to go. If they make a wall, which can be unfortunate, but it's nothing too much to worry about. Now this one can be hellish because she just shoots them all over the screen, and depending on where she wants to move, she can just make things not fun for you. Now I accidentally popped Trance here. This was not intentional. I meant to use a bomb, but Trance works just fine for getting through these. Now here's another spell card that you might end up timing out if you're not careful. If you've like taken a hit on her, you're probably not going to beat this spell card because you won't have full power. But if you're at full power, generally you can just, as long as you constantly keep fire on her, you'll beat her before, like just before the spell card times out. But I think the strategy for this one is you want to pop Trance and then move in to suck up the spirits that she absorbs. And it'll prevent her from healing at all, but I don't like to do that. I just like to time it out. It's generally one of the more simple ones to dodge, but if you're not careful, you'll get hit, and it'll be very sad because, you know, it's a relatively simple spell card. Now, for this stage, I like to start sitting underneath the ghosts and then take out all the ones in an area, and then once the other ones start shooting, I move to the right to take care of them, or my right or left, depending on where I'm sitting. Now, a bunch of enemies will start coming from the top, and I like to try and take them out as quick as possible. So that way they'll drop their special resource, and I can go and collect it real quickly, and prevent the bullet spread from getting too ridiculous. Because if you aren't careful, the bullet spread will actually just make it way too hard for you to close in and get the resources, which, trust me, is not fun. You always have to balance like how many bullets there are and if you should go for that resource or not. Sometimes you'll genuinely just have to pass up a bomb piece because it's just too risky to go for it. But here we are with Sega and Seija. I'm pretty sure it's Sega because Seija is from 14. It's spelled with a J. But she is pretty mean. This first spell card, this first non-spell isn't too big of a deal. You just kind of move left to the right and make sure you get to an open space. Now for this one, I don't like messing with this one. I've had bad experiences with it, so I just bomb as soon as she shoots off the first wave to beat the card. And now here you want to be careful, because enemies are going to start rushing from both sides in the top and spamming bullets. Now, if you're unprepared, this can be bad and catch you off guard, like it just did me. You want to... I generally like to avoid being hit for as long as possible on this game because of the aforementioned resources issue. Like, if you die before stage 4, you might as well just reset the run. That's like my code book. But yeah, you want to take them all as fast as possible, then go and get their spirits quickly. And here was another one where I did not use Trance because I was like worried about it or anything. I did Trance to get more resources more quickly. And also just get to the bullet spread faster, if I'm being honest. But it was mostly for the extra resources because I lost some earlier. And because Seija is a bitch of a boss fight. Like, wow. She has a bit more, like for a stage 4 fight, she will give you some trouble. Her patterns are a lot more thick, and she has Yoshika who comes here, and she will be shooting off her own patterns on top of what Seija's shooting, and she has her own health bar. Don't ask me how I did that. That was incredibly stupid. This was a run I was doing at like 3 or 4 a.m. after a couple other failed attempts, so I was a little on edge and made some silly mistakes. But yeah, you have to watch out for I keep saying Kogasa. Kogasa's the umbrella one from earlier. For Yoshika's patterns. Because she'll move from each side and just kind of drop bullets on you. You want to focus on on Seija, because she's the one whose health bar actually matters. Taking out Yoshika can actually be useful in certain situations, because it'll cause Seija to have to stop shooting bullets off for a little bit and then go and revive her, which is your chance to shoot on her. But generally, it can put you in a risky situation having to put bullets into Yoshika. Now this one, I'm glad I got to that one quickly because that one's super annoying. But alright, so for this one, Seija shoots off a bunch of knives at you, and you have to try to stream to the left and right of them, because as you can see, Yoshika's shooting off a lot of smaller kunai, so she'll be spreading them, and once you see them moving from one direction to the other, like there's an open space to the right, you're gonna want to start moving to the right or the left, depending on where the open space is, because the knives are gonna start closing in. So you kind of have to manage what side you're on, otherwise you'll get walled in by Yoshika's kunai, and also keep out for Seija's knife barrage. Now this pattern, anything with curvy lasers fucks with me. I'll end up moving right into it, and I don't like to mess with them for too long. I usually end up bombing, but I end up bombing to get through it. Be careful with bombs on this one, because Seija has a surprising amount of health and can survive for quite a while. So if you bomb at the wrong time, you can actually end up caught inside of one of projectiles as soon as the bomb ends, then just die. So you want to be careful. Alright, so here we got stage 5. Again, you're going to want to take out those fairies as soon as possible, because they shoot off bullets in a like spiral pattern that can be a little rough depending on how many they get off and what all the other enemies you want to deal with. But this opening part is relatively simple. It's just a nice little spirit refill and power refill. Now you're going to want to take these ones out as soon as they appear, so that way you can immediately rush up and get the resources and be ready for the next group of them. This is a good stage to use Trance on, because you will get quite a few resources based on the tougher enemies that come. Now, this is, again, you want to be careful on where you are, where the lasers are coming off, and you'll want to take these enemies out quickly, because the longer they're on screen, the more lasers are going to shoot off. And yeah, here's a good example of when they use Trance, because for every one of these, it's dropping at least one resource, meaning you'll be getting either 2 bomb pieces or 2 life pieces. Here is Tojika. This pattern you can dodge pretty simply by going from one side of the screen to the other, because the arrows will home in based on where you are. So you can move from one end. Now do be careful, because the later arrows can adjust to where you are if you aren't careful, so you can end up getting clipped. But generally, I like to move from the very left to the bottom left, to the middle, then the bottom right, then the very right. Now here's another. This one, you have to be careful of where the zigzag pattern is, and they will move over time. It's a little trippy, but as long as you just make sure you're in the safe space and move to the left or right accordingly, it shouldn't be too much trouble. Look how little health she has. Now, a bunch of orbs will spawn in a spiral pattern, and the first 2 patterns are, you can sit at the bottom of the screen and be perfectly fine, but the third patterns will start going around the whole screen, so you'll have to go into the center of the pattern. These first 3 spirals will not shoot any bullets, but the 4th will start shooting bullets, so be prepared for that. and you want to move out of the spiral, and then move to the left to be ready to take out the first group of batch of enemies, then to the middle, and then to the right, and then grab the resources you can, because another batch is going to come. I like to bomb to get them through, because very shortly after they spawn, the boss will show up, and then grab the resources before you continue the text box. Now this is Futo, Mononobe no Futo. She's one of my favorite characters in the series personally, but I'm not here to talk about that. It's time to show you how to get through a boss. Now, she shoots off arrows in a spiral pattern. She does this basically as almost all of her non-spells, so get used to the idea of getting to it. Now this one, I don't really like to go through this pattern if I'm being honest. You have to avoid her arrows that she shoots off and then move to the to the left and right of the screen. And whenever she shoots off the big spreads, you gotta like squeeze through them. It's a little scary to go through, so I like to bomb to get to it as fast as possible. Now, every time she shoots off a spiral, it's gonna get wider and wider. And eventually, you're gonna want to actually squeeze in between the arrows, because just moving to the right won't cut it, and you'll risk end up getting clipped by an arrow. It's best to just squeeze through them. Now we're at this one is another one of those ones where bullets coming from multiple different directions. So you're going to want to move to where the lightest amount of bullets are, so that way you won't get walled in. And be careful of her blue orbs when she shoots them off. Whenever they hit a wall besides the bottom of the screen, it will cause more of the arrows to come out, so you want to be careful. Now here's another spiral pattern. General idea is to squeeze in between one of the larger open spaces and then move to the left to get out of the way and keep the fire on it. Now here is this one can be a little intimidating. It can either be pretty easy or really rough depending on where the flames decide to go. I got scared and bombed here, but I've done it several times where I've just dodged through all the flames with no problem. Now here's her final spell card. It's almost a survival spell card, except you're like shooting at it. It causes you to go in a circular pattern, and she'll be shooting charms at you the entire time from like multiple directions. They'll be traveling. They go slowly, but that's the thing. If you get a lot of them in your circle, it can be pretty frightening. But as long as you keep moving in a spiral pattern and watch where the blue charms are coming from, oh, those are Fuda cards. This is one of them. And keep moving. That was scary. You can get through the card in about 30 seconds and take her out. But if you're ever afraid, just bomb and get to it, because you don't want to lose lives this close to the final boss. Now we're beginning stage 6. This stage isn't actually too bad. I like its theme, by the way, but as are most stage 6s. But you're gonna wanna. This is a very nice little spirit refill, because these enemies drop a shitload of spirits for everyone you take out. And you're definitely going to want to use Trance at least once during this, because of the resources. But taking out the big fairies will result in all of the spirits being destroyed at once, so try to prioritize that. Now what I like to do here is go to either the right or left to take out the all of these, I don't know what these things are called, these little like yin-yang orb motherfuckers, and take them out before they start shooting off the lasers. To take them out as quickly as possible, so that way I can immediately move to the other side and start taking out the other ones. Because you do not want these things on screen for long, because as you can see, the laser spread can get a little scary. And they'll start shooting faster the longer they're on screen. You just don't want them on screen for very long. Now you're going to start getting swarmed by a lot of them. Once a lot of them start coming on screen, some of them will start dropping resources. I like to transfer around here to get through the pattern without much trouble, and to also get some quicker resources. And this is the end of the stage. Yeah, very quick. And here we are with Toyo Satomimi. I always mess up her name and say, what is it? I always mess up the Toyo Satomimi and fuck up, like, but yeah, her initial spell card isn't too big a deal. Just don't get intimidated. It does get more dangerous later on. Now this first spell card, she will cause a bunch of bullets to go off in different directions. Depending on where they go, it'll either leave you with a big open space you can just kind of chill out in, or not give you too much trouble. If you ever like worry, just bomb through it. but I was trying to avoid using bombs for as long as possible here. That got very close. Now, she has like a ridiculously large aura for a final boss. It's pretty funny actually, but she's gonna start shooting off more arrows, which then results in more of these tiny star things. Basically every non-spell, it'll increase how many of these things she shoots out at once. So, oh my god, I didn't just get hit, did I? Yeah, don't let that happen, please, for the love of God. Now, this spell card is one of her simplest ones. Please, for the love of God, don't fuck up on this one. You gotta wait for them to initially open up and spread, and then wait for a second, then squeeze through. I literally pissed away a 1cc on that spell card by dying on it twice. Don't be me, okay? Now, once the large amounts of bullets start coming on, I was tense and on edge here, so I just wanted to, if I got like, felt even like slightly threatened, I just shot off a bomb to get through it. Alright, now here, she'll summon both Tojiko and Futo and start shooting off, and they'll start shooting off arrows in a like circular pattern, but it leaves little open spaces. So what I like to do is go very close to Miko and then shoot at her for a little while, and then move to the right, and then the bottom of the screen, so that way I can squeeze through the arrows. And that's the general strategy you want to follow for this. Luckily, Miko just decided she's just gonna hold back and let the teammates do anything, and she's not shooting anything at you for this, so you only have to watch out for Futo and Tojiko here. She always gives you an adequate amount of time to pick up any of the spirits, because she has to flex first. Now this one is dodgeable. I don't like to do it, because I'm jumpy. I'm gonna bomb through a lot of her spell cards, because that's what I've been trying to save my bombs for. This one, okay, so she will have the stars, I guess, go in a circular pattern, and as long as they're transparent like that, they won't hurt you, but the second they light up, they become hitboxes. You're gonna want to bomb through those. I had to go for as long as possible because I ran out of bombs, but yeah. Now this one, as you can see, it's just bullet spin. You have to move left and right. Now, I used to be able to do this one perfectly without flaw. I have failed at least 3 1cc's because of this spell card, and I don't know why. So I gave up on trying to do it all the way through and just bombed to get through it quickly. It's doable, but at the end of a run like this, your nerves get on edge and you'll fuck up somehow. This is another one that depends on where the bullets decide to go, if you're gonna have a good time or not. Now, it'll cause a bunch of Ofudos to go in different directions, and I just tried to bomb through it as quick as possible because I'm super close to the end of the fight and I'm really, really stressed out. So be careful. You have to avoid the lasers and then watch where the Ofudos are going and try to squeeze your way in between. Bomb if you get worried. Now here is her final spell card. She will cause a bunch of stars to fall from the ceiling. Now if you get within any proximity of these circles, they will turn white like that, and then they will start moving towards you. So that's why I'm trying to stay as far away from them as possible. And after a few seconds, she'll make them all target you at once. So you have to do a balancing job of staying away from this fucking circle, so that way they won't be moving in on you, and then being ready for when the big group of them starts coming. Now, this is where you're going to want to spend a lot of your trance and bombs to get through this phase as quick as possible, because you don't want to die here. You don't want your run to end here. Trust me, I've had like 2 runs to end here. It's so sad. But I'm just bombing to get through it as quickly as possible. It's funny, this game's bosses aren't too bad compared to the other games, but Miko's definitely the hardest boss in the game. She is genuinely difficult, like with some of her patterns. But yeah, that is the end of the run. I wouldn't say 13 is my favorite Touhou game. It's definitely more on the middle, like low middle on my ranking of the games, I'd say. I was having a bit of a bad time with it until I learned how Trance worked properly. And once you figure out how to do Trance, you'll start having a better time, but the general being starved on resources and the being forced to go super close to the edge in order to even get fucking resources, like you basically have to like dance with death to even get like an extra bomb or a heart piece. It's a little rough. It's still an enjoyable time, but not something I'm thinking I'm gonna go back to soon. Like, I'm planning to go back to the Otoro games and once you see them with the other characters, but this one's probably gonna be the one of the later ones I go back to. I love its cast though. I really like Futo and Miko and Tojiko specifically. I think they're just fun characters. But yeah, that's about all that I have for this one, CC. Nothing else to really add. I hope you enjoyed. The next one will most likely be 14 because I managed to get to the final boss of that on a 1cc attempt last night or the night before, and I'm feeling really confident about making another one. I don't know if I'll do one tonight or tomorrow, but I'm gonna expect that one to be the next 1cc. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a good one.